Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto Trained with the Akatsuki, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. It's been a month since you have first been appointed Hokage of Konoha. What do you feel like doing today? Shizune asked Haburi. I think I would like to go with you and Kimetsu on a mission. Haburi said, smiling peacefully. A mission? Wouldn't you prefer if we got another ninja to do it for you? I could call anybody you'd like right now. Shizune said, a bit puzzled as to why Haburi wanted to go on a mission. Not a real mission. I just want to venture out a bit. I feel like picking fruit. Haburi said. I remember that there were many fruit trees where I used to train every day. I would like to go there now. Very well, Shizune said. 15 minutes later, Kimetsu, Shizune, and the Hokage were leaving Konoha on a dirt road. The birds were chirping, the trees and grass was green, and the animals were out eating. It truly is a beautiful day, isn't it? Haburi asked. He didn't need an answer, it was obvious. I truly feel the life out here. Kimetsu then spoke out of curiosity. So about how far is this place we are going to? About 5 miles from here. Except now we need to get off this dirt path. The training place lies deep within the forest. Haburi explained as they left the road and entered past the trees. It sure has been a long time since I've gone out like this. Haburi said. An hour later, they had finally arrived. Here it is. All of this, I built, and it was here that I trained. Haburi said. Even though the training grounds were deep in the forest, it was a large opening. The trees surrounded it in the shape of a circle, giving the training ground a diameter of about 200 feet. The ground was pure stone, with a few pillars and boulders here and there. There was much rubble around as well. Kimetsu entered and looked around in amazement. Wow, this is perfect. Suddenly, his face became very serious, except one thing. You two sense it too, don't you? Kimetsu asked. Haburi and Shizune both nodded and looked around. Someone's here, Kimetsu said. They all spread out searching for the person that was hiding. Shizune was the first to find the boy. Over here, she shouted as Haburi and Kimetsu quickly rushed over. They stared down at the small boy huddled in a small ball looking straight into their eyes. His cheeks were soaked with his tears. His clothes were all torn as well. There was one aspect of the boy that stood out like a sore thumb, and that was his right arm. His arm was all black rock, looking like magma, the cracks shedding a dim light of orange. Kimetsu gasped. Shush, Haburi said, putting his index finger to his lips signaling silence. Hello little boy, what's your name? The boy was silent for a moment, then said in a soft voice, Saru. How did you get here, Saru? Haburi then asked nicely. Saru struggled to answer, then said, I don't know, I can't remember. What do you remember? Shizune asked. Nothing. Saru said sadly, then he began to wail loudly, shouting that he was lost over and over again. Can you stand? Kimetsu asked after Saru had stopped his tantrum. I think so, Saru said, slowly standing up without a problem. How old are you? Haburi asked him. I don't know, Saru replied again. Then Haburi held out his large hand as Saru placed his hand in it. Let's get back to the village and give this boy a proper meal, then we can clean him up and figure out where to go from there. Hello, my name is Riku Haburi. Haburi said as they began to walk away from the training grounds and toward Konoha. But Hokage-sama, what about the fruit? Kimetsu asked. I've suddenly lost my AP. I have a terrible feeling about this. We will discuss that later, for now let's go. Haburi said, picking up his pace. Finally, when they had arrived and gave Saru a meal and cleaned him up, they sat him down in Haburi's office. Saru, I want you to try your hardest to remember. Haburi said. Remember what? Saru asked. Anything at all. A memory of some sort, or how you got where we found you, anything. Saru closed his eyes and clenched his fists. He sat there in silence for a moment, then opened his eyes and sighed. Nothing, he said. That's fine, don't worry. Haburi said, comforting Saru. What are we going to do about him? Kimetsu asked. Well, seeing as how he must have been on his own for more than a year, I think I'm going to take him in. Haburi said. What do you mean take him in? Kimetsu asked, feeling surprised. I mean what I mean. I'm going to train this boy, he needs to know how to survive on his own. Haburi said forcefully. What? That's insane. Kimetsu said. Hokage-sama, do you realize what that could bring? He may be one of the last of his clan and that. I am very aware of what could happen. But let me tell you something, I am the Hokage around here, so I'm making the decisions. You don't have a say on this. I will train this boy, and that is final. Haburi said. Do you have a problem with this, Kimetsu? Number not at all. Kimetsu said. Good. Haburi answered with a smile, then I am appointing you to be his bodyguard. What? You must be joking. Kimetsu screamed. I'm serious. Most of the time he will be training with me, but the rest of the time, when I have matters to attend to, you will watch out for him. We must guard him very closely. Haburi demanded. Hi. Kimetsu finally agreed. Saru, you are going to be trained by me. Do you understand? Haburi asked. Saru nodded his head excitedly. When can we start? I've always wanted to get stronger because, Saru stopped in his sentence and frowned. I can't remember that either. Haburi put his hand on Saru's bony shoulder. Don't worry, in time, your memory will come back. We will start tomorrow. Okay, Saru said. Hokage-sama, I don't mean to be rude, but may I remind you that the duty of Hokage is not to stand around and train other people. You have paperwork to attend to, and lots of it. Also meetings, and you never know what else may come up. Being Hokage doesn't really give you that much free time. Shizune said. Don't worry, Shizune, I already have it figured out. Each day, I will work with Saru for 5 hours, then he can go wherever he wants in Konoha, and Kimetsu will be with him. The rest of the time I will do my duties. Haburi said. Kimetsu, why don't you show Saru around our village, then after, let him get some rest for tomorrow. It will be a big day for him. Yes sir. Let's go Saru, I'm going to show you around our village. My name is Kimetsu by the way. Right before Kimetsu and Saru had left, Haburi stopped them saying, Oh Saru, I'm going to train you for a full month, then we'll see how everything will be. Saru nodded and then left. I don't know what you see in that boy. He seems to be the last of his clan. They were all wiped out by the Akatsuki a few years ago, weren't they? Shizune asked. Yes, a tragedy. But I see great potential in this boy. Plus, I think I could train him good. I've already trained one person in my life, a second shouldn't be too hard. I just hope I'm not too rusty. Haburi said. The next morning, Haburi walked over to where Saru was staying. Kimetsu was outside the door, guarding it with sleepy eyes. I'm glad that you were here all night. Did you tell him that he is not allowed to go outside of the village? Haburi asked. Yes sir, and as for your comment for me being out here, it is my duty, I am simply following your orders. Kimetsu said with a slight smile. Very well, now I will take it from here. Go and get some sleep. Haburi said, dismissing Kimetsu from his duty. Thank you Hokage-sama. No thank you. I will be training with Saru at the training grounds where we found him. Haburi informed Kimetsu. Are you sure it's safe to go back there alone? Somebody may be looking for him. Kimetsu said. We'll be fine, I do no self-defense. Haburi knocked on Saru's door, then opened it. Ready for our first training session? Of course. Saru shouted, rushing out the door. Where are we going to train, Haburi-san? Saru asked. To the training grounds where we met you yesterday. Haburi said. Saru stopped in his tracks. I can't. Why not? Haburi asked. Because I'm not supposed to leave the village. Saru said sadly. Haburi laughed. Smart boy. Let me ask you something. Who told that to you? Kimetsu. Well, guess what? I told that to Kimetsu. I'm the big boss around here, so whatever I say, that's the way it goes. Now I'm giving you special permission to leave the village only when you're with me and I allow you to do so. How does that sound? Haburi asked. Okay, Saru said. 5 minutes later, they were both standing outside the gates of Konoha. Now, before we leave, I want to test your stamina. It's 5 miles from here to our destination. So what I want you to do, is run there, the fastest you can. But the trick is, you can't walk a single time. So go at the fastest speed that you can without overexerting yourself. Haburi said. Got it, Saru said. He took off at a pretty fast pace. Haburi was right behind him the whole way. They finally arrived about 15 minutes later. Wow, pretty good, Haburi said, praising Saru. But by the end of this month, you'll be able to see that time in half. Really? Saru asked in amazement. Haburi nodded. Okay, now that we're here, I want to see where you are. I'm right here, Saru said. No, not literally, I mean in skill, as a ninja. Now, for training, it's usually going to be you against me, one-on-one. But sometimes, I may create obstacles for you. But today, I want you to come at me with all you've got. Haburi said. You mean, you want me to try to hurt you? Saru asked. The best you can. Can you do it? Haburi asked. I suppose. Saru said. Alright, here I come, are you ready? As ready as you are. Haburi said. Saru rushed toward Haburi until he was 2 feet away from him. Then with his gaining momentum, he leaped into the air and swung his right leg at Haburi's chest. Haburi just dodged to the side and let Saru go flying forward. Saru quickly landed on his feet and whirled around using his left arm attempting to punch Haburi's stomach. Haburi simply caught Saru's tiny fist and held it in place, not allowing Saru his hand back. What are you going to do now? Saru then tried to kick Haburi's shins with his legs. Haburi hopped back as Saru once again dashed after him. Saru used his momentum again, going up about to jump. Haburi already has his arms crossed in front of him ready to block Saru's kick to the chest. However, Saru didn't jump after all, he then ducked and whirled his leg around trying to trip his opponent. Haburi jumped up and then backed away. Saru stood up panting. Wow, you're really good, Haburi-san. Are you trying your hardest, Saru? Haburi asked. Yes, and I can't even land a single blow. You're good, with what you have. You know how to use your head. I liked that fake that you pulled back there. Haburi said. Thanks. Now we're going to make a very minor change. We are going to stay exactly the same, except now, I want you to come at me with this. Haburi said as he handed Saru a kunai. This could KO you. I wouldn't want that, Saru said. Trust me, Saru, you aren't good enough to do that yet. You just have to have a little faith in me. All I ask of you, is that you try and give it your 100%. Can you do that for me? Please, Haburi asked. Okay. Saru then rushed at Haburi, but this time with AK in his hand. No matter how many times Saru tried, he could not even get close to landing a blow on Haburi. He was just too fast. He could read Saru easily, too easily. Even throwing the K didn't help. Haburi still dodged. Soon enough, the 5 hours had passed. Time's up, Saru, Haburi said. Saru was gasping for air, sweating like never before. How did I do? Excellent. Today was only to test how good you were. And now I know. Next time I'll have different things planned out for us, Haburi said. They then ran back to the village. Saru extremely excited, feeling that he couldn't wait until the next day. But it came faster than he thought. He found himself and Haburi outside the Konoha gates again, just like they were before. Saru, I want you to run there again. Know this, you will never be able to walk out of every time that we train. But this time, do not let me catch you. Every time that I catch you, you will have to knock down a tree in the forest, with no weapon at all except your feet and hands. What? But that's impossible, Saru shouted. No, it's not. Every day, the number of times I catch you will build up. Ready, begin, Haburi said as he gave Saru a 10-second start. 5 seconds later, he had caught up to Saru and tagged him once. That's one tree. 2 seconds later, Haburi had tagged Saru again. Haburi constantly tagged Saru again and again, never stopping. Saru kept running faster and faster, but it was never enough. By the time they had got there, Saru lay down totally exhausted. Now, you will have to knock down 415 trees, Haburi said. When will I do this? Saru asked. It'll take me more than 5 hours to knock down that many trees with brute strength. That is correct. But I'm not wasting the 5 hours I have to watch you break down trees, so we will train regularly. You will have to knock down the trees in your spare time. Kimetsu will accompany you so you will be able to go out here. He will tell me the exact number of trees you knocked down. Haburi said. I thought I could only go with you outside the village. Saru said. I'm giving you more freedom. Shizune is angry with me because she believes that my methods of training are too rough. But trust me, this will be good for you. Now, today I'm going to teach you how to channel your chakra. Do you see this large pile of rubble? Haburi asked, pointing to the pile of small rocks 3 times taller than him. Yes, Saru said. Well, I want you to mold me a pillar made of that. Using nothing but your chakra. Haburi said. It may seem hard, but it's doable, observe. Haburi stood with his eyes fixed on the pile. He extended his arm and lightly placed it on the surface. Suddenly, a blue aura surrounded Haburi. It not only surrounded Haburi, but it began to surround the pile of rocks as well. Then, Saru witnessed the rocks being moved by the chakra itself, all of it slowly being molded into a large pillar of rubble. The pillar was medium-sized in thickness, so it was extremely tall. Wow, Saru said. Now you try. Haburi said as he let the pillar fall back into the rubble pile. Go over there and place your hand on the pile. Saru did what he was told. Now concentrate, and release your chakra to its fullest. Saru stood there, concentrating, he gritted his teeth. Finally, a very tiny blue aura surrounded Saru. Good, now transfer it to the pile. Saru managed to do that as well, but with much difficulty. By this time, Saru was already very sweaty. Very good. Now, shake the pillar, you have control of the rocks, all you have to do is move them. Haburi said. After much concentration, Saru fell to the ground. I can't, it's too heavy. Try again, but this time, don't go for the whole pile, go stone by stone, that will make it easier. Haburi said. Saru did that for the 5 hours that day. His progress was a pillar about a foot tall. He was more exhausted than he had ever been in his entire life. Haburi, can you carry me? I can't walk anymore. Saru asked. One thing you must learn, do things by yourself. That's what training is all about. I'm just here to show you what to do, you have got to do it. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, wriggle your way back. Haburi said harshly. Why are you being so cold? Saru asked, holding back tears. Training was hard for me, and it paid off. As I said before, please just trust me, just because I show you a cold shoulder doesn't mean that I don't care. I'm rooting for you, but I can't do things for you. I'm trying to toughen you up, that's all. Now let's go, Haburi said. They finally came back to Konoha an hour later. Saru went to his bed and dropped and fell asleep. He looks exhausted, Kimetsu said. He is. But this is the way it has to be. Remember to wake him up an hour later, I want you to take him out for tree breaking. Give him tips on using his chakra, but don't do anything for him. He has to learn on his own, that nothing is handed to you, you have to work for it. Haburi said. I've never seen this side of you. I got to tell you, you scaring me a bit. Poor little kid. No, I feel sorry for your enemies, especially since you're the Taijin. Kimetsu said. I have work to attend to, if you'll excuse me. Haburi said, leaving. Saru, it's time. Kimetsu said. Time for breakfast. Saru asked with his eyes still closed. No, time to train. Kimetsu said. Saru opened his eyes. We're going to train you. But the sun's setting. Saru said. It doesn't matter if we're out there all night, you've got to knock down some trees. Kimetsu said. Let's go. Saru got up and they painfully walked all the way back over to the training grounds. Okay, now pick a tree, any tree. Kimetsu said. They're all huge. I picked this one. Saru said, pointing to a nearby tree. Okay, now punch through that. No matter how many times it takes, just get through it. One trick is to concentrate your chakra into your fist. That will give it 10 times the force. Kimetsu said. Watch this. Kimetsu walked over to a different tree, and without even trying, knocked it down with a simple tap. That's how good you're going to get with enough practice. Now start. It's already nightfall, so I'll get a fire going. Kimetsu then lit the tree that had just fallen with a fire technique. Sora was concentrating on transferring the little chakra he had left into his right fist. He then punched the large tree as hard as he could, leaving a small mark. Saru repeated this process countless times until finally the sun was beginning to rise. Kimetsu put out the fire with a water technique, still keeping watch. Stay here and work on that while I dispose of the remains of this tree, Kimetsu said as he dragged the burnt tree and dragged it into the forest. Sora continued his training. He had actually seen through about 1/4 of the tree now. Kimetsu came back 10 minutes later. Alright Saru, we've got to get back to Konoha. They walked back at a normal pace, but it still took long. When they arrived at the Konoha gates, Haburi was there waiting. Ready to begin our daily training, Saru. Saru sighed, then nodded. Okay, as usual, I'll give you a 10-second head start, and every time I tag you, that's one more tree. Go, Haburi said. Sora took off, as fast as he could, as if he were running for his life. He surely didn't want no more trees, he had to do over 400 already. But it was inevitable, Haburi had tagged him 400 times exactly. Looks like you have 815 trees to go. For training, I want you to make the pillar, Haburi said. This routine went on for 2 weeks. Make a pillar by day, and take down trees by night. Saru was improving very rapidly. Now, Haburi would only get about 20 tags at the most on Saru. And now, Saru could take down a tree within an hour. Won't you run out of trees eventually, Haburi-san? Saru asked one day during daytime training. No, because we use special jutsus to make trees grow instantly. So every time one goes down somewhere, another goes up, Haburi said. Now concentrate, the pillar is almost completed. Saru had finally finished building the very tall pillar. He stared in pride at his masterpiece. Good, now, what I want you to do, is walk up it, Haburi said. You mean climb it? No, walk up it, you need to fix your chakra on your feet. Then you can stick like so. Haburi began to walk up horizontally. If you put too much chakra, you will damage the pillar and it will collapse, forcing you to build it up again. Saru tried. At first he got up about 10 feet high. Then he accidentally concentrated too much chakra on his right foot. The pillar fell and landed back into one large pile within seconds. Make the pillar again. And restart, Haburi said. Another week passed by and Saru had almost reached the top. Haburi was barely tagging Saru now, and Saru could also knock trees down with single blows. One night, when Kimetsu went to dispose of the wood, Sora sat down on another tree he had knocked down. He was tired, hardly getting any sleep. Suddenly, he heard a twig snap, something was moving. He heard a bush rustling near him. He pulled out a kunai from his new kunai pouch that Haburi had given him a few days ago and threw a kunai at the movement coming from inside the bush. Who's there? He shouted. He heard a squeal, then a squirrel fell out of the bush, with Saru's K in its chest. Saru rushed over to get the K, but on his way, he felt a sharp pain in his head. He grabbed his head in pain and fell to his knees screaming. But he couldn't even hear his own scream. Then Saru felt his mind drift. He saw himself, as a little boy practicing punches standing on soft green grass somewhere. Then his mind drifted back to reality. His head stopped hurting and he was there, all alone. Was that a memory? Saru asked himself. A second later, Kimetsu appeared. Are you okay? I heard you screaming, he said. I'm fine. I just, K.A. squirrel, that's all. Saru then began to tell Kimetsu about what had just happened. Kimetsu. Yes. Nothing. Saru said, changing his mind. He decided to keep this to himself. The last week of the first month of training, every time Kimetsu would leave to dispose of the trees, Saru would K an animal, gaining a very tiny piece of his memory each time. When the month had ended, Haburi said, good job Saru. I've taught you how to channel your chakra, and be aware of your surroundings. From here on, it will only get harder. All this time, I've been going very easy on you, no more. You have 1 day free from training. Take it, you need the rest. And since you have no more trees to knock down, you will no longer need to go knock them down on your own time. But now that you're stronger, I am giving you permission to leave with Kimetsu whenever you want. But it must be with me or him. But for now, take this day to rest. We still have lots to cover, Haburi said. I wonder, Saru thought to himself, that if I case something bigger than a rat or a squirrel, if I will get a bigger piece of my memory. I will have to find out. I'll convince Kimetsu to train with me personally as well. Naruto, you are finally of age. Zetsu said after having talked with the rest of the group. Naruto looked back at all of them in confusion. Of age. For what? Naruto asked. Usually, to become a full Akatsuki member, one must go through a specific training. It's a training that not only tests one's strength, but it tests the mind, as well as emotions. This training has been proved to make people go insane, but those who survive are in the Akatsuki today. The process takes about 6 months, however, we will be putting you there for 2.5 years. Zetsu replied. What? Naruto exclaimed. 2.5 years. What if something happens within that time? I'll have to be here. What about Hinata? While you train, we will all train her while you are gone. Itachi said. See, there is a reason for all of this, Naruto. You must understand and trust us. Do you think we would let you go now, if we were in need? Yes, we have Hinata, however, the other side will not dare make a move until at least 2.5 years. Why not? Naruto asked. Because they know that we will train her. So they will wait until she is strong enough, so they could use her. After this time, you will come back just as strong as any one of us, a true Akatsuki member. That is, if you come back. This training is not like Naruto, and you must not underestimate it. If you let your guard down at any moment, you will less. This training was only meant for the best of the best, and we believe you are ready for it. You will be the youngest person to have ever taken the test and passed. Minio said. Are you sure about this? Naruto asked as he eyed each member carefully. All of them nodded. When will I begin? Tomorrow, we have already made arrangements. You will be training on an island, remember, this training will test you on every aspect, be aware. One more thing, Naruto, do your best to hold back your demon powers. You can't get the best training if you do unleash it. You also may be influenced by the overwhelming powers inside you. Hold them back, or they will take control. You and Kisame will be taking a boat tomorrow. Any attempted escape of the island will result in immediate capture and assassination, even for you, Naruto. Itachi said coldly. Saru did a backflip, dodging the K being thrown at him by Kimetsu. He had done it, he had gone through every single one of Kimetsu's obstacles. Well done, Saru. You have completed everything within 4 days. I never knew you were so determined. The usual time it takes for a strong shinobi is about 2 weeks. You have done well. It's time to head back to Konoha, don't let me beat you there. Kimetsu said, suddenly taking off towards the village. However, Saru was right behind him. He jumped up to the trees, skipping from branch to branch while below him, Kimetsu ran extremely fast. But Saru was not new at this anymore, he was already well trained, and could easily beat this speed. He sped up, leaving Kimetsu in the dust. Finally, the village was in sight, Saru was almost there, almost ready to reach Konoha before Kimetsu did. Until suddenly Kimetsu stepped out from behind a tree holding out a K waiting for Saru. The K and Saru connected, causing Saru's body to fall to the ground. Always be aware of your surroundings, Saru. Let's go, we can get that fixed up in no time. Kimetsu said, turning around only to find the real Saru holding a K at Kimetsu's belly. Poof! The Saru behind Kimetsu disappeared. Well played, Saru. Kimetsu said. I guess that means you win. Saru only smiled and entered the village of Konoha beside Kimetsu. 2 hours had passed, and Saru was at home safe and sound sleeping. Kimetsu was reporting to Haburi what had happened that day. I'm telling you, Hokage-sama, that boy is extraordinary. He passed every single training method I laid out for him in 4 days. I couldn't even do it that fast when I was 5 years older than him. Saru has more potential than I thought. Kimetsu said. So it would seem. I feel as though he is hiding something from me. I can't figure what it is yet, but it bothers me. We still have to keep an eye on him. In the meantime, I would like to enroll him in the Chunin exam. Haburi said. What? That's crazy. First of all, he doesn't have teammates, second of all, he's 9. Kimetsu said. At least he was able to remember that. We'll figure out something. I know this boy can pass this exam without a problem, he doesn't have a lot, but he uses his head for everything he does. With his determination, he is able to train his body and mind. When he first came here, he didn't have much, but now, he is quicker and stronger than all the kids his age. He fights the battle as if it were a game, a simple game that he has already figured out. We'll find him teammates, the age won't be a problem. As Hokage, I will request special permission to allow his entering in the Chunin exam. Haburi said. One thing that we always mention to the people who come here. Kisum began as they finally reached the white shore of the very large island. There are two different scrolls, just like in the Chunin exam. There is the dark scroll, and the light scroll. There will be many clues, puzzles, and obstacles in the island that you will have to conquer in order to acquire them. Make sure you have them before we come back for you. Once again Naruto, don't leave the island, we have spared no one. We cannot make an acceptation, not even for you. Good luck. Kisum pushed the boat out to sea waving at Naruto who was left on the island to train. Naruto stood there on the white sand. He was wearing sandals, shorts, and a sleeveless shirt. He entered the wilderness with only a K in his hand. Naruto wasn't too happy about the sudden change of things. But he intended to see this thing through until the end. Before entering the deep forest, Naruto first was careful, and created about 10 bunchans to scout the shores for anything unusual. They came back with nothing. Then all 10 Narutos entered the forest cautiously. After traveling about a mile, the Narutos came to a large stone floor with a small pillar up to Naruto's waist at the very end. Naruto carefully walked around the circular floor, and came up to the pillar in order to examine it. The pillar was just regular stone, but it had a weird-shaped hole on top. This must be something like a keyhole. I'm guessing that I will have to find the key. I just don't know what it is yet. Naruto said to himself looking around. After having explored the island more, Naruto came to a very wide open space, perfect for training any big moves. But he saw a small figure at the distance, walking toward him. As soon as the figure was close enough to be seen, Naruto gasped. The figure was Orochimaru, with intent to K. What are you doing here? Naruto asked, getting ready to fight. Naruto-kun, let's see how much you have improved since we last fought. This can't be, how can you be here? Naruto asked, confused. That doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm here now, and you have something that belongs to me. Orochimaru said, smiling. Actually, my body belongs to me. What makes you think that I'll give up all what I have to live for just for you? The only thing I ever saw of you was a weird, pitiful person who could hardly be called a shinobi. Naruto said. I understand what's going on here. You're not real. Orochimaru laughed. What makes you say that? Because you wouldn't be here. You don't have the guts to come here and attack me by yourself. You fear my constant growing potential. Naruto said. What if I didn't come alone? Orochimaru asked, still keeping his devious smile. Then I suppose it wouldn't be good for me now, would it? Naruto asked. This is probably some time of genjutsu. Part of the training. If you think you're real, then why don't you come and S me with that sword that you hide? Orochimaru only laughed slightly again. Very well, Naruto-kun, he said as he opened his mouth wide and pulled out a sword. In a split second Orochimaru covered the distance between Naruto and himself, attempting to S Naruto in the belly. Ching! Naruto's K clashed with Orochimaru's sword as he barely managed to block the attack. Naruto had his eyes wide opened. Orochimaru was real, and he was there for Naruto. Naruto pushed back and once again got ready. Orochimaru laughed and said, do you believe me now? This can't be, Naruto said in pain as he looked down at his left leg. You poisoned me, Naruto asked, feeling faint. Anything goes here, you just had to be careful. Orochimaru said. You needed a simple scroll. Orochimaru held out a blue sealed scroll, and then swallowed it. You couldn't even get that. Poof. You're wrong, Orochimaru, I will get it. But now I know what I'm looking for. Naruto said angrily. I'm coming at you with all I've got. You can try, but it still won't be enough. Orochimaru stated. Chunin exam? Saru asked. It would seem so. Apparently, Haburi believes that you are ready. Kimetsu explained to Saru in Saru's living quarters. What do you think, Kimetsu-san? Saru asked. Kimetsu was silent for a moment, then sighed, saying, Saru, you're unique. I think that Haburi is definitely rushing things. You're only 9, and extremely strong. This isn't normal. But isn't being strong good? Saru asked. Not all the time. Right now, Saru, you are very young and well, let's just say that you can be influenced by many people older than you. With your power, if someone were to change you, Then that would cause problems for many people. Kimetsu said. What do you mean? It's hard to explain. I just think that Haiburi should be a little more careful with you. That's all. Saru then frowned. So are you saying that you don't have faith in me? You don't think I can do this? I didn't say that. I have no doubt that you can. But you're still very young. You've only been with us for a few months now. There have been very few people that have progressed this early. They are prodigies. But what happens to them? They end up, never mind. I know you can do this, Saru, but I'm not so sure if you should. But Haiburi is Hokage, so I have no say in this. Kimetsu said, scratching his head. Saru stood up looking determined. I'm going to do this, even if it makes you a bit uncomfortable. The way I see it, I'm progressing really fast, and they say that not many people are like me. I'm strong, and I want to be stronger. I want to be able to fight other people in the Chunin exams. Kimetsu, you are really strong, so please, teach me all you know. Kimetsu only stood silent for a few moments. Finally he stood up. I suppose you won't change your mind. In that case, I have no choice but to do what you ask of me too. I'll pick you up tomorrow at 5 in the morning. The Chunin exam is in a month from now. You'll have to be ready. From here on out, the training won't be obstacles, but full-on fighting. Each day I'm only going to get harder on you. Remember, this is what you wanted. There is no way out now. I'll see you soon. He left, closing the door, leaving Saru with a large grin on his face. He was going to be in the Chunin exams. Naruto was feeling really weakened from the poison, but he could feel that something was wrong. Either Orochimaru was going easy on him, or this wasn't Orochimaru. Whoever it was, it did have the exact fighting style of him though. Even though Orochimaru seemed to be going easy on him, it was still a very tough fight. With only AK, Naruto couldn't really set many weapon traps, but he could do other things. He was now being chased through the forest. But Naruto had a plan. First, when he thought he was far enough ahead, he created a Rasengan in his hand and put it to the ground, creating a large hole. He had to do this fast. Orochimaru was coming. A few moments later, Orochimaru had appeared, looking a bit weary but extremely B. Naruto was in front of him a few meters, facing him in a crouching position. Due to the poison, Naruto was drawing short breaths. He would have to rest soon, but he couldn't with Orochimaru around. He had to get that scroll, so he would not stop until he retrieved it. And there was only one way to do that. Orochimaru had to rest. Orochimaru gave Naruto a nasty smile and walked forward, with purple chakra surrounding him going crazy like large flames. Don't tell me that you have given up, Naruto-kun. This was not much of a challenge at all. Naruto stood silent, not moving, looking straight into Orochimaru's eyes. Orochimaru then stopped. Don't think that I'll fall for such simple traps. A hole in the ground, with leaves and branches to cover it up. What a beginner's move. You disappoint me, Naruto. I suppose it's time to end it now then. But just before Orochimaru could do anything further, two hands from under the ground came up beside his feet and grabbed the ankles firmly. Orochimaru looked down in surprise. Just then, Naruto stood up from his crouching position, revealing a very long strand of what seemed to be a thin but firm vine. He held the vine out in front of him and see it with the J, apparently triggering some kind of trap. At that moment, sharpened tree trunks appeared from the very top of the trees, speeding at Orochimaru, who was unable to dodge. They each hit him, his body. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 newly made spears now held Orochimaru in place. B. The hands at his ankles did not move either. Naruto then spoke. How about you show me who you really are? You're too weak to be Orochimaru. Had it really been him, I would have been in half this time. Who are you? Either way, it's over for you. Orochimaru just laughed, spewing B from his mouth. Very well, Naruto-kun. But it's too sad that you will never know who I am. He then made a few hand seals without saying anything and suddenly turned into purple flames and was gone. All except the blue scroll, which now lay on the ground. Poof! The hands below disappeared and Naruto continued back to the place with the strange keyhole. After having inserted it, the large circular floor actually opened up, revealing a dark staircase too far to see the bottom. I suppose there's only one thing to do now, go down this thing. I'm prepared for whatever is in there, Naruto said. After about an hour of walking down the endless stair steps, Naruto finally reached a floor that was not descending but only led to a door. It was unlocked, so Naruto entered the large room past the door very carefully. It was extremely dark in there, so Naruto held out his K in front of him and said, Akatsuki. Suddenly, his knife in front of him gave a brilliant glow from the glowing fire that had just appeared. It lit up the room, revealing hundreds of corpses all on the floors and walls. Naruto stepped back a bit, trying his best to be silent. Whatever had killed all these shinobi was still in there. Naruto then lifted the flame high over his head, revealing a huge creature that covered the large ceiling. The creature seemed to be attached some way. It also had more than 20 large heads that could each swallow Naruto whole. Some were larger than others, but they were all still humongous. Every single head looked at Naruto, and he knew that if he didn't do something soon, he was going to be dinner. Suddenly, one of the heads dropped what seemed to be dark green saliva on the floor, which landed one of the corpses, deteriorating it instantly. Naruto knew then that it was acid. Why was Naruto here? He needed a scroll to open the floor, and he had done exactly that. So what did he need to do now? But Naruto did not wonder for long, because soon after he saw it, a black scroll lay stuck to the ceiling, in the middle of all the heads. He needed to get that. If Naruto was going to fight them, then he needed to know what he was dealing with. There were several strategies he had already come up with in his mind, but he wanted to know how strong they all were. He held out his left hand, and created a Rasengan. He then threw it up in the air as hard as he could. But before the Rasengan had gotten even halfway there, one of the heads swallowed it and snapped back. It exploded but did nothing. Next, Naruto started running around, stepping on corpses when he needed to but tried to avoid them. He quickly moved deeper into the room, heading towards the wall. One of the heads reached down with such speed, attempting to swallow Naruto, but missed barely. Naruto flipped back panting. His heart was pounding, these creatures were fast. If he didn't watch out, then it would be over soon. Then Naruto had a different idea. He put his hands together and shouted, Bunshin no Jutsu. About 10 shadow clones appeared all around the room. They all ran up the walls, sticking to the side with chakra. But no matter how fast they tried to run, one head would ram into the wall, leaving the imprint of its teeth where the Bunshin was. But they were not real, only an image. So no matter how fast the heads attacked, the Narutos would only keep on going. Let's see if they tire out, Naruto said quietly, hiding amongst the corpses. At least they aren't that smart. So Naruto waited, there in the stench, and the darkness. He had turned his K off and held it beside him. He waited for hours as all the heads just kept on ramming into the walls, causing pieces of stone to drop. After about 2 hours, Naruto turned his head up to look at what was going on. The heads weren't tiring out, they were only getting faster and hitting harder. That's how it was for what seemed like almost a day. Without food, Naruto felt a little weak. The poison's effect had finally wore off, but he could not defeat hunger with nothing. Finally, in the midst of all the hitting, everything stopped, everything was silent. Naruto slowly got up after having seen that the heads were all hanging, each of them reaching the floor, as if they were S. It took a bit of time, but he was still able to do it. He then looked up and saw that it wasn't over. Another creature was coming, not a head hanging to a ceiling, but it had a body. It quickly dropped to the floor as Naruto dashed to the side. He tightly grasped his K ready to fight. The creature was very tall, about 9 feet, with 4 large muscular arms that each led up to 4 large claws. Naruto just stood there, still hungry. Let's get this over with, he sighed. The monster rushed at him with an amazing speed, but Naruto was ready. He crouched and spun around the monster and got behind it just as it passed him. He then s his K in the back of its end shouting, Akatsuki. He then pushed off the monster's back with his feet and landed on the other side of the room as he sent the monster flying into the wall with its head lit on fire. Naruto had lost his K, but everything was now over. He then walked up and retrieved the scroll, and left. Finally outside, Naruto stood there and watched as the circular floor automatically closed. He then looked at the black scroll which now lay in his hands. He then opened it with caution. Inside read, look to the sky when there is a full moon, you will have to retrieve the last scroll very soon. Do not waste your time and wait, you will soon find the gate. Beware of this last task, for it may be your last. Naruto looked at the setting sun. He then looked at the distant moon, which was now a bit visible. If something was going to happen on a full moon, then he had better prepare for it, because he had a full month. Naruto spent the next month constantly training. He increased his speed by practically double, running around the island every day. He also meditated and did regular exercises like pull-ups and push-ups. He searched the island, building shelter for himself. He became accustomed to most of the island. It seemed to be pretty deserted. But he had not trouble with food. He could simply kill a rabbit or catch a fish. Each day he would use as much chakra as possible, and then overnight exercise physically. He hardly slept, but looked at the moon every night, waiting for the moment. Finally it had come. The full moon he had been waiting for. At first, Naruto saw nothing. But after a few minutes, he saw something he did not expect. He rubbed his eyes to see if it was true, and it was. His eyes did not deceive him. He was looking at a large piece of land with a white palace on it floating way up in the air. How am I going to get up there? Naruto asked himself. He just looked up at the palace in the sky, way over the trees, so far from the island. Naruto then came to an idea. He started to run through the forest, all the way until he was practically under the floating island. The then formed many hand seals in a matter of seconds and crouched down to the ground and put his hands on the damp earth. Doton, Shinju no Jutsu. Suddenly, the earth below him began to rise, forming a pillar. It continued to rise and lift him up and up until Naruto had finally reached the island. He simply stepped on the floating island and watched as the very tall pillar crumpled back to dirt and fell to the ground. After a few minutes, the island Naruto had been on for the past month disappeared. All Naruto saw now was as if he was in the sky, and there was no land or water or anything below him. Simply more sky. It was unusual because there were no clouds, but Naruto just turned around to face the palace. It was much larger than he had thought it was. The front had two very large blue doors that were slightly open, enough for Naruto to enter. Naruto silently whispered the poem that he had read in the black scroll, which he now had in his back pocket of his shorts. Naruto entered the huge palace weaponless, hoping for the best. This was the last test. It was bound to be hard. Naruto entered to be surprised once again. The palace was completely empty. It was very clean. Naruto could almost see his reflection on the blue and white checkered tiles all on the floor. At the very end of the palace was a large window allowing light to pass through. On the left and right sides of the palace, there were many other windows, so the humongous room was not the least bit dim, but perfectly fine. Naruto only walked deeper into the palace as the doors suddenly closed behind him. Naruto looked back, but then kept on going. He walked farther and farther into the palace. Finally, he saw a figure in the very middle of it all. It was too far, so he had to get closer. Unlike Orochimaru, this figure did not advance toward Naruto. It only stood still and stiff. Naruto got ready to spring into action at any moment. He couldn't end here. Finally, when Naruto was close enough, he could see a blonde boy, just about his height. Only, the boy had his head down, so Naruto couldn't see his face. The boy had a dark blue shirt and orange shorts. He wore nothing on his feet. When Naruto was even closer, he spoke to the person. "Who are you?" Naruto asked, daring to move a bit nearer. When the boy picked up his head, Naruto gasped. It was him. Exactly like Naruto now. "This is Genjutsu," Naruto said, taking 3 steps back but stopped because the boy spoke. "Stop, please, don't leave me. I don't want to be alone, not again," the boy said with tears in his eyes. Naruto only backed away more, shaking his head in doubt. But the boy then took a few steps forward. "Please don't leave me. Don't go. You can't do this to me." Naruto only backed away faster, still shaking his head. This time, the boy stopped, dropped his head down and said, "I asked you nicely. But you still want to go. I can't make you want to stay, but I can make you have to stay." The boy looked up, showing slit eyes for pupils. His eyes were red and the boy grew claws instead of fingernails. Also, red chakra surrounded the boy just like Orochimaru. This boy was Naruto, only in demon form. "You will stay," the boy screamed, charging at Naruto. Naruto barely managed to dodge the clawing attack that the boy used. Even though Naruto moved and went behind the boy, the chakra followed him and knocked him through the air. Before Naruto could hit the ground, his opponent was under him. kicking him way up in the atmosphere once again. However, before Naruto hit the ceiling, the boy was there right above him. Naruto felt weak already, as if all his physical energy had been drained from him. The boy grabbed Naruto's shirt and pulled him close so that they were less than a foot away from each other. Naruto looked straight into the eyes of himself, those demon red eyes, and he relived all his life again up until now. He then realized something as his opponent gave him a strong punch, sending him speeding toward the ground. Naruto hit the floor with such impact, but it did not even make a small scratch to the checkered floor. Naruto fell and stood looking at the palace ceiling way above him. What Naruto realized was that all his life, he had been living it for someone else. And that made him unhappy. All his life, he did not have a choice, he was only put to do things, trying to please those around him. He wanted a family, but the Akatsuki was definitely missing something. Naruto couldn't figure it out, but he felt so incomplete. So unwanted by everyone. Then Naruto saw his opponent suddenly appear a few meters above him, coming down quickly with his fist in the air, ready to bash Naruto's head in. Naruto got up and dashed out of the way, but his opponent reached the ground and caught up to Naruto appearing in front of him. The boy kicked Naruto upwards in the chin, leaving Naruto practically floating in the air with his body parallel to the ground facing up towards the ceiling. The boy then got under Naruto and with all his might. He looked back at the boy who was now smiling evilly. He had to fight back, if not, then he was nothing. If he could get out of this mess, then he could fix things. If he was strong enough, he could show people how important he was. He wasn't just a pawn to be bossed around, he was important. And if Naruto ever wanted to change, then he would have to survive this. With these thoughts running frantically through his mind, he reappeared behind his opponent, attempting to sidekick him. But his other self simply blocked and punched Naruto away from him. Naruto did a backflip and landed on the ground, finally stopping after sliding a little bit. He looked up at his opponent, who was now running toward him. He waited until the boy got there, blocking the first punch as it came in contact with his open hand. The force caused the pain to surge through his whole arm, leaving it temporarily numb. Naruto could only block the second punch thrown at him with his good arm. But after the punch it became numb as well. Naruto was too slow to dodge the third punch as it came in contact with his face, sending him flying once again. Naruto landed on the ground in pain. He got up as he started to feel the sensation back in his arms. "I'm going to end this," Naruto screamed with determination beyond doubt. He quickly performed many hand seals ready to do the strong jutsu he had in mind. But his opponent only began to laugh. "What's so funny?" Naruto shouted angrily. "You can't use jutsu in here. We can only rely on our brute strength and speed. You don't have enough to take me on," Naruto's opponent said. What he said was very true. Naruto was unable to do his jutsu. He had so much to lose, he could not give up now. Even if it did not look good, Naruto was inspired to keep on going. He had to get back to everybody, survive his training. Every else had done it. Hinata was training out there, and he had to see her again. He could not here. If he did, then he would leave everything incomplete. He could not fulfill himself. Naruto only clutched his stomach in pain as even more B leaked to the floor, leaving another puddle. He would not lose. Suddenly, Naruto felt so angry, he looked straight into his opponent's eyes and became enraged. Naruto then began to let his feelings take control of himself. Red chakra engulfed him as his wound healed quickly with a sizzling sound. His fingernails grew to claws, just like his opponent. "Time to even the odds a bit, isn't it?" Naruto asked, smiling deviously. His opponent disappeared and reappeared behind him, attempting to punch Naruto, but he did the exact same thing and punched his opponent in the back of the head. The boy went flying, but not very far. Naruto's chakra reached out and grabbed his opponent's head, crushing it from the force. The fight was over. Suddenly, everything was gone. Naruto was calm. He was back at the island, with one difference. He now had a black scroll and a white scroll. He had done it. He was an official Akatsuki member. Now he could make it out into the world and change what people thought of him. He was not to be messed with. Only a month had gone by. He intended to spend the rest of his time on the island, training in every way he could. And that's exactly what he did. 2.5 years later and Naruto was 16, almost 17. He stood at the shore, standing tall and proud, watching in the distance as Kisame came in a boat to retrieve him. As Naruto stepped into the boat, he noticed something. "You're not so tall anymore, Kisame-san," Naruto said with his deeper voice, standing taller than the Akatsuki member. Kisame looked at Naruto with a smile. "I'm surprised you didn't call me Fishy-san. You have grown, Naruto. I think you might need a hair." See. Kisame pointed to Naruto's long hair that reached down his back. Naruto also had sideburns that came down the side of his face. "Let's see just how much you've grown. We'll test how much better you've gotten since we last fought. I hope I won't be disappointed." Naruto only smiled and said, "Trust me, you won't be." That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.